turn to our man, Adam Schefter. Keon Coleman missed last Sunday's game in the snow. So should Bills fans be expecting to see him this week against the Rams, Schefty?
Hannah, my understanding was he was fairly close last week, but so far this week he's been limited in practice. Limited Wednesday, listed as limited again today as he tries to make it back from that wrist injury. And so tomorrow could be key to see whether or not he's upgraded to full or whether the Bills will once again list Keon Coleman as questionable for Sunday's big game against the Los Angeles Rams as they come off a couple of big emotional victories. Meanwhile, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look like they could be getting back Bucky Irving despite the fact that he left last week's game with a hip injury and didn't practice on Wednesday. We'll see if he can make back limited again today, I believe. And so I still think he's got a real chance to be out there on Sunday to complement Rachaad White. Bucky Irving has really turned into one of the better young backs in the league. And the Philadelphia Eagles were without a pair of key players today. Dallas Goedert didn't practice today. Reed Blankenship didn't practice today. But Devontae Smith back out there. And it looks like he is tracking to play Sunday against the Panthers after a full practice today. And while it looks like they'll be getting back Smith, it looks like they very well could be without both Goedert and Blankenship for Sunday's game. Both players look like they will not be ready in time. We'll see if there's any way they can make it back by then.
Yeah, as they are streaking, looking for their 9th straight win. Time to see what is on trend around the NFL. I'm going to give you a stat, and you tell me if the trend continues this week. It has been trending downwards for Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. In his last 3 games, he's failed to throw a touchdown pass, and he has 6 interceptions. Over the last 10 seasons, he's the only quarterback with 0 TD passes and at least 6 picks over a 3-game span. I mean, the only one. So does that continue as he goes back to Minnesota this weekend, Swagoo?
Unfortunately, Hannah, yep, it does continue. And I take no pleasure in saying this. Kirk Cousins looks old as hell when he's playing football now. And I don't know, Dan talked about it earlier this year. He has to live in play action in order for this team to have success. It was a million throws out of the backfield. He was trying to push the ball downfield, wasn't turning out right. Maybe he focuses on Kyle Pitts a little bit more, and that helps him. But with this Vikings defense, the way they disguise and the way they pressure, I think the trend continues, unfortunately.
Yeah, Michael Penix Jr. waiting there for his turn. All right, trending upwards. The Vikings, Sam Darnold, he's had 3 straight games with multiple touchdown passes and no picks, tying the longest streak in Vikings franchise history. 23 TD passes this season, 4th most in the NFL, already setting a career high. We're not talking about it enough. Does that trend continue at home Sunday, Mina?
It does, in large part because of who he is facing, the Atlanta Falcons defense. So Sam Darnold, as a rule of thumb, when he is kept clean this year, has been very good. In fact, when he is unpressured, he's actually tied for the 2nd most explosive plays in football with Lamar Jackson. It's when he's under siege that some of his worst tendencies come out. Good news for Sam, this Atlanta Falcons pass rush is one of the worst in the NFL. They did look better last week against the Chargers out of nowhere, but I don't see that continuing, and I think Sam Darnold has a big day.
Won 5 straight starts, first time in his career. Hey, it's Steelers. Russell Wilson, the starter in Week 7, and the Steelers rank 2nd in the NFL in total yards per game, behind only the Ravens since he took the reins over the last 2 games. Russ has had a completion percentage of at least 75%. He's never done that in 3 straight games in his NFL career. Steelers, so we got to go to RC. Does that continue at home against Cleveland this week?
Listen, I don't know if it stays up over 75, but I think the trend of him completing a ton of passes and being efficient does continue. When you look at him and the way that he's playing now, using the inside of the field, but also spreading the ball around. Ben Skoranek, Van Jefferson, Pat Freiermuth, using Darnell Washington, dumping the football off to Najee Harris, and not relying on that go ball and moon ball to George Pickens has diversified this offense and helped Russ raise his efficiency and completion percentage. I expect that to continue.
Yeah, very cool story developing there in Pittsburgh. All right, not so much with the Bears. Caleb Williams, though, he's played 3 games with Thomas Brown calling the plays after Shane Waldron was fired. And he has yet to throw an interception in those 3 games. We're going glass half full here. He's nearly doubled his rushing yards. He's averaging 7.5 yards a carry over the last 3 weeks, ranking 3rd in the NFL in total QBR. I bet you didn't know that. Trailing only Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford. So, Dan, the man, will we see more of that on the road against the Niners?
Yeah, I think so. Number one, I do believe they've unlocked the instincts for Caleb Williams with Thomas Brown. Go trust your legs. If you see a seam situation presents itself, take off as a runner. The second thing, they've made sure to get DJ Moore the football early and often in games. And the third thing is they've taken their shots down the field. If teams are going to line up and give them the opportunity, you got to trust those guys to go make plays on the outside. I think that's minimized some of the overthinking elements that a lot of young quarterbacks, certainly Caleb, displayed. And the way that Thomas Brown is spearheading this offense, I expect it to continue.
Have some news. Let's get right to Adam Schefter for that. And
Well,
Adam's
Hannah,
tweeting.
how about this?
Yep.
The Detroit Lions on Monday signed Jamal Adams to their practice squad. And just a short time ago, they promoted Jamal Adams from their practice squad to their active roster to play tonight's game against the Green Bay Packers. So Jamal Adams will have spent all of 3 days in the Lions organization before he has a chance to go out and make his mark tonight for the Detroit Lions after the Tennessee Titans released him earlier this offseason. He'd been waiting for the right opportunity with a playoff contender. It finally came along. Detroit signed him on Monday, and here he is tonight playing in a game against Green Bay.
Big name in a big spot tonight, Swagoo. What do you think?
I wanted to beat Mina, Dan, and RC to it. The run game that we just talked about, I'm absolutely positive that that is what Aaron Glenn is thinking, is that he can have Jamal in that hybrid role to play the run and be a defender in the box, which he is phenomenal at, which he does well. I will be interested to see how they use him in run game and blitzing.
Yeah, I cannot wait
That
as
was a
he
little
is
weird.
back right here in prime time. All right, meanwhile, a lot of players around, Schefter. You've been talking about it all day. Take us through some of them, starting with Jair Alexander.
Not going to play tonight. The Green Bay Packers will be without their top cornerback. He is not going to play tonight, Hannah, along with Romeo Doubs. But Jair Alexander usually will be lined up against Amon-Ra St. Brown. Not going to have the chance to do that. It'll be the 3rd straight game that he misses on account of that knee injury that he suffered earlier this offseason, and that's a blow to a Green Bay defense that certainly could have used Jair Alexander tonight. Of course, the Lions have no sympathy. They have 13 players on injured reserve right now. There's a list of some of the players not playing tonight, including Taylor Decker and DJ Reader for the Detroit Lions, which is why we see here tonight Jamal Adams promoted to the active roster. And as I mentioned, 13 defensive players on IR right now for the Lions. No team has more than 7 across the league. And as for the Green Bay Packers, they are going to lean heavily on Josh Jacobs. And an offseason where we saw multiple teams add quality running backs, and there's been a lot of discussion about what Saquon Barkley has meant to the Eagles and Derrick Henry to the Ravens and Joe Mixon to the Texans. There hasn't been a running back that's meant much more to his team than Josh Jacobs has to the Green Bay Packers. Was limited this week in practice due to a calf injury. He's off the injury report, good to go tonight, and you know that there's going to be a healthy workload for Josh Jacobs against the Detroit Lions as they promote Jamal Adams to their active roster in an effort to help slow down Josh Jacobs.